Ma'am, it is a pleasure and honor for us to have Ms. Devika Singh with us as an interviewee. Ma'am is a co-founder of Mobile Crutches 1969 and has also played a pioneer role in installation of crutches as construction sites, and also has taken up many projects to ensure the rights of women and children, especially employed women. Uh, Ma'am, my first question to you would be that like when we talk of labor laws, so as per the Factories Act is concerned, Maternity Benefits Act, Industrial Disputes Act, they seem to have many provisions for women. So as a law student, we get the impression that women's rights are being taken care of. So what is the actual scenario, if you can?
Well, I'll tell you 20 years of my work. My first 20 years of work with Mobile Crutches was on construction sites. And it was with the women and the children on the construction sites. And as you know, that's the most vulnerable group because they're migrants, they're temporary, they move away, they are casual labor, they're not part of the permanent construction staff, etc. So at very close quarters, one realized the range of deprivations that they had. Take it shelter, take it hours of work, take it that any protections for them as women, maternity benefits, withdrawal from work, any cash payments to be given to them so that they can withdraw. 10-day-old babies are being born, at 10 days old, the babies are being left and the mother is going back. So there's a whole deprivation of labor rights which are right there and which we worked with very closely. Total absence of childcare services, so the women had no real protection and they continued to work just before pregnancy, just before delivery till post-delivery. No access to services, access to health care. So when you look at that situation of complete deprivation and you realize that construction workers, the women and the young children they are with and the children that are being born are in a way outside the purview of all women's rights or protections. So that was a very raw experience of how vast sectors of women and children are completely outside, as we were talking about the organized sector and some protections, and then there's the host. This is the unorganized sector. So that was the situation that we were working with. As regards your question was really, how do I feel about it? So being closely involved with the unorganized sector, we are recognizing that they are not really protected at all, and the provisions for them in social security are non-existent. So I would say it's a very grim situation and very detrimental to the women, their health, children, their survival, their nutrition, their health, their opportunities, and the whole development stage of young children, of people, women who are working is very grim.
So there is a provision in Maternity Benefit Act which provides for compensation to the woman before and after pregnancy, and also like for period around 6 weeks. Ma'am, so then is that not given by the employers, or don't you think it is sufficient?
This is unorganized sector.
Yeah.
So it's informal employment, it's through contractors. So organized sector has the Maternity Benefit Act, but it does not apply to these women. Now these women would come under, and children would come under the Construction Workers Act, which has come much later.
Yeah.
And there it is the provisions are the cess that's collected. Out of that there's a lump sum provision. It's a lump sum provision which is now with great difficulty being given out, where the boards can be pressurized and give. It's not like the Maternity Benefit Act where there's a contract, where there's a formal system. So when you look at construction women, then you look at women in the slums, the home-based, that entire category of people we were talking about is outside the formal system and the Maternity Benefits Act. So that's the real challenge.
So then, apart from a legislation or apart from going to court, how are the employers, like how are the contract labor hirers who hire them? So how are they being sensitized or how are they being forced to
You
look
know,
after?
our work has been, how are these people? Our work has been direct work with the families, with the people on a work site, with the contractors there, both the top, who are the employers, and the subcontractors, because the whole construction industry works on the subcontracting. So they are the sensitization to the extent that by intervening, getting creches on the ground, exposing and demonstrating and keeping up a constructive dialogue is the kind of sensitization done at ground level. And then through the unions who've been working on the Construction Workers Act and labor departments through them. The success either both ways has been difficult. It's not been that, yeah.
And in the like the organized sector, unorganized sector also would have experienced a lot of gender inequality with the women, despite working more. Probably they are not paid adequate wages. So for gender equality, are you taking any initiatives?
Well, it's the situation of the Equal Remuneration Act,
Yes, sir.
like so many acts, is not implemented. So the women are not, for a long time in our earlier work, there was no implementation of equal wages. There has been little better implementation. But the fact is that their work is casual. They come for a specified period of time. The contractor, the subcontractors bring them and they give them a lump sum as a loan for their family, land, loans, debts, and then it's deducted from their daily wages. And the contractors, subcontractors also take a fee out of it. So there is no real implementation. They are, they take in advance and it's cut and the laws are not being applied. I'm afraid the labor departments and their implementation, no, they're totally aware, but they are not applying the law and there's no real pressure for penalization.
So another concern I believe was in construction sites would be the apart from the maternity difficulty, the women's health also would be a concern because they are very filthy working conditions and
the health, they come with poor health, maternal health is poor. They are on uncertain wages, so their home situations are tough. Their working hours, both with doing household chores, looking after the children, 8 hours of supervised work, leave them very vulnerable. And the city systems or systems of healthcare reaching them is very minimal. So our work has also been, of course it's micro, but it's demonstrating that services have to reach them because they are in temporary settlements and they're in temporary employment and movement. Yeah.
So what is your current, if you can tell something about your current project, what exactly, as of now, what is going on?
Well, the work with women, working women from the informal sector, both in slums, resettlements and construction sites goes on. So it's from conception to birth, it's daycare, it's looking at all the aspects and helping children through that and women through that first phase and then being able to see that in wherever they're settled to be able to enter schools and that they get the integrated things. They get health, nutrition, care, learning, protection. So making sure, but that, as I said, is a project and it's a small, but this is what we are now trying to develop into a kind of framework, conceptualization of a framework legislation and detailing each of the items that the child and the woman need, making sure that the women's rights, the maternity rights, we are fighting that at a different level with the labor departments, with the central government, and the labor ministry, and with other groups who are fighting for those implementation and changes in the Maternity Benefits Act, and in the actual conceptualization of a framework legislation that will be appropriate to this age group, to women and children.
Yes.
Now that is the struggle, and the children are outside the purview of rights. As you know, the under sixes are not
No
under
rights.
no rights.
Infants.
So if they have no rights,
Mm.
then unless we get to a point where it's not just schemes can change, schemes can have limited budgets, schemes can have very little training support, but unless there is some kind of mandate to include the under sixes and the women with the comprehensive program, I don't think that's our main task now, and to make sure that there's enough buy-in, there's enough awareness, there's enough understanding, and some kind of conceptualization which can be taken forward towards legislation.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very nice.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if all you can cut and